Good morning, McGraw. Good morning, Kelly. How's everybody?
Hi, Tony.
We are doing well. You dressing up for Halloween this year?
I'm going to go as an enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people. Okay. All right. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that with.
I'm going as myself.
All right. Fair enough. With your press pass and everything. All right. There you go.
Yep.
So I want to get to this dog story, but first, I love this story you keep following. You wrote about it again. I guess it was last week. That people are finding that other people are using their name to write their elected officials.
Well, not necessarily other people, but somebody or some entity. This is, I've written 2 columns on this, and I'm working on another follow-up. Basically, you have a situation where a whole bunch of lawmakers got letters from allegedly their constituents with names and addresses and emails, all advocating for the state legislature to change the law to make it harder for out-of-state people to connect with in-state people on class action lawsuits. This is somewhat of a reaction to the Johnson & Johnson talc powder lawsuits, including the big $4.7 billion one in the city of St. Louis this summer. And the effort is being pushed by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And what happened is all these state lawmakers got a bunch of letters from constituents, and some of them recognized the names and called them, and the people are saying to the lawmakers and to me, I didn't send that email, I don't care about that issue, or I don't know about that issue, or I disagree on that issue, but I definitely didn't send you this email. And the Chamber of Commerce and its various partners and contractors are saying, we didn't do anything wrong. We've investigated. Those are actual emails. We show IP addresses that came to the website to send the letter. And it's a mystery right now. And I'm still looking into it to try to get to the bottom. The bottom line is these folks tell me quite clearly they did not send those letters. And so now you have state lawmakers who are saying, what can I believe when I get letters from lawmakers? It could have a real damaging effect on citizens' ability to have an influence on their lawmakers if all of a sudden lawmakers aren't able to believe that these emails are real. And I can tell you, and this is one of the things that I'm working on, this has happened in other places with other entities. It's become a real problem in state legislatures.
Okay, Tony, there used to be, not so long ago, where somebody would say, hey, write a letter to your congressman, come to our website, sign up, we'll generate a form letter and send it to the congressman, the senator, the politician, whatever, right? And so the politician, the elected official, the journalist would get 80 letters. They'd all be the same, but they'd be signed by somebody different. Are these?
And that's what happened. And that's what happened here. But these people are saying, I didn't go to that website. I didn't print out that letter. I didn't register. I didn't sign up. That's what they're saying. And that's where the dispute is right now.
So it's more or less like Russian bots have got a hold of this letter and have just sort of, like they do on social media, they've generated likes and retweets using people's real names, but nobody knows who's doing it.
I want to be careful to say that I don't necessarily believe it's Russian bots. I don't know what it is. If my last column wasn't clear, there are lawyers involved for the U.S. Chamber being very aggressive in terms of trying to make sure that this isn't cast in a negative fashion for them. All I can say is I don't know what happened yet, but I know that the people that have talked to me say they didn't send the emails, and I believe them.
How many letters are we talking about?
We're talking about at least dozens. I've talked to 4 different lawmakers who say they haven't identified a single individual on the emails that came to them that says, yes, I sent that email. And we're talking Republicans and Democrats.
Stay tuned. I like that story. Stay tuned on that one. All right, quickly, do we have time to talk about the city of St. Anne?
Sure.
Tell us the story of this.
I wrote a column this week about a woman and her son who have 2 pit bulls, and apparently one of them had gotten out once or twice, and she fixed her fence. I looked at the police reports. There was no damage to anybody or anything, but she fixed the fence, got it taken care of. And a couple of weeks ago, the dog was tethered in her yard, but apparently the tether was long enough where he could jump over. An animal control officer came over, and here's where it's not clear because the city hasn't provided a whole lot of paperwork yet. At some point, the 2 dogs that were in the yard got confiscated by St. Anne and were quarantined. And the woman got a letter saying, we're taking your dogs, they're bad, we're declaring them bad animals under our ordinance, and she was afraid they were going to kill them. So she got an attorney. And the attorney has been trying to communicate with St. Anne and say, hey, look, I represent this woman and her dogs. Can you tell me what happened? Can you give me the police reports? Can you show me the justification for declaring the dog a bad animal? And they won't give him really much in the way of documentation that says this is what happened. And so he says, I'm protesting. I want a hearing, as the state law says. And the lawyer for the city, for St. Anne, says, well, you can't protest to me. You got to protest to the Animal Control Board. So he goes to the city website. The Animal Control Board doesn't exist on the city website. I did the same thing. I looked for it. I couldn't find it. So he sent a letter to the mayor, to the police chief, who's in charge of the animal department, to the city's attorney. He does all the things you would expect a reasonable person, particularly an attorney, to do in this situation. And the city attorney sends him a letter to say, no, you didn't do it right. We're taking the dogs. And that's when I got involved, and I called the city attorney, and all of a sudden the city attorney says, whoa, I don't know what the big deal is. We're going to get this taken care of. Nobody's killing any dogs. But I asked him, I said, if I have a dog problem and the city sends me something and says I have a bad animal, how do I contact the Animal Control Board? The city attorney for the St. Anne told me, well, I'm not sure. That's not my department. So this poor woman is trying to do everything right to protect her dogs and make sure that they aren't euthanized. And her attorney says, look, if the dog did something wrong, just tell me what the dog did so we can have a hearing about it and figure out what's going on. And the city's just not really being very helpful in terms of sharing public information.
So the dogs are still alive and being held by the city of St. Anne.
The dogs are with their family right now. And the city attorney told me that he believes they're going to get it taken care of amicably, that there's not going to be a problem. But in the meantime, as I pointed out, if there really is an animal control board that is the place that you seek a hearing if your dog is declared dangerous or a bad animal, then it's the city's responsibility to let people know how they can contact that entity and have some due process. That's what the woman, Mrs. Ohanian, wants. That's what her attorney wants. They just want some due process. If the dog did something wrong, let it have its day in court.
Tony Messenger. There you go. That's the latest. STLtoday.com every Tuesday and Thursday with us. Tony, have a good week. Thanks.
Good to talk to you.